Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from where or when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy, and I'm taking this opportunity to welcome you back to my channel. We continue creating the inventory management system. We are now in part 12. If you're watching this video for the first time, I would recommend that you watch the previous episodes. You can use the card on top here, or find a link in the description of this video so that you can be able to watch all the episodes from episode 1 to episode 11. After that, you can come to this video. Otherwise, you can also follow along with this video as you might learn a few things from it. Shout out to all those who are following my series. I can't thank you enough. You mean a lot to my channel. The only way that you can support me is by smashing that subscribe button, turning on the notification bell, and sharing these videos with your friends. That out of the way, let's get started. So in episode 11, we created this post page. Basically, it just contains the product and their details. So from this page, a person can be able to add a product to the cart. So the way I have it is that I have created two tables in the database, one called sales order and another one called sales. The sales order table will hold all those products that clients have shown interest in buying, but they have not yet bought the product. And then we have the sales table that will now hold all those products that are completely bought by the clients. So basically what we are doing in this video is inserting the product into the sales order. So a person can be able to select a product and select how many of the product that the person wants to purchase. Like if it is product 4, how many do you want to purchase? If it is onions, how many of them do you want to purchase? So this later will be appearing in this table, where now a person will continue to check out and they will pay for the product, and that will be moved to the sales table, but that will come later. So without so much ado, and because we don't have a lot of time here, let's launch to my favorite text editor, Visual Studio, and here we are in the pose.php page. So in this code, as you can notice, we have this product in a form. And this form has the action of includes /pose underscore insert.php and has a method of post. So we also have below here some hidden inputs that we cannot be able to see, but we need to pass them into the next page. So I have them with a hidden input, and now on top here we have the information that we are able to see here on this page. So basically now what we want to do is to be able to pass this information via the form to the pose underscore insert.php, which will include the PHP script that will insert this information into the database. So down here we have the button with the type submit and the name of add to cart. So this is a button that will help us now to grab this information and pass it to this page. So if I head on to the pose underscore insert.php, you notice that we don't have anything here because this is what we'll be creating right now. So the first thing that I usually do is to test if the button is working before I do anything else, and so that is what we're also going to start with here. So to be able to do that, I'm going to use the if statement to check if the button was clicked. So I'll say if is set, and because I'm passing this information via the form, I'll just come and say post. So $_post. It's recommended that you have this in capital letters, and then the button that I'm checking if it is clicked is the and underscore to underscore cut. So basically this is the button that we have in the pose page, so the add to cart. So now I want a few things to happen if the button or based on whether the button is clicked or not. So if the button is clicked, I'll just come and echo I was clicked. Else, if the button was not clicked, like a person tried to access the post_insert.php without passing through the post.php, or if there is an error with the button or a bug with the button, then I want to also echo something. So I'll also just come and say echo I was not clicked. So basically that is so let's just come and see if that button is working. So I'll just head on to the post.php on the browser here, and first of all I'll just refresh it. Then I'll click on one of the buttons here. So let me just click on the first one. Oh sorry, we have an error on line 5. Oh sorry, we forgot to put a semicolon. So semicolon. Yeah, so you should always end PHP statements with semicolon, else you're going to get errors. Yeah, so as you can see, the button is working fine. It says I was clicked, so it now means that we are safe to continue. So I'll head back to the page and I'll just get rid of these for now. And so before we continue, I would also like to include the database connection. So just come and say include, and I have a page called con.php which contains the connection to the database. So I'll just come and have it in quotes here and say con.php. So now after that, I now want to get the information or the data that is passed through this post method and store them in variables. So I'm just basically creating variables here and storing the information that we have received from the form. So the first variable will be ID, and I'll set that to be equal to, so the ID that I'll get from this. So I'll just come and grab this, have it here, and I'll tell it that I want the ID from that is passed by the form. So I want several of those. So in fact I need 8 of them. So I'll just come and duplicate 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'll just come and rename them. So this one will be product name. And now down here we need to get the amount, and for the amount we want to multiply the price, or we'll be multiplying the price and by quantity. And for this one it will be the balance. So this again will be like what is left in stock when a specific product is bought. So it will be basically QTY, this is now the quantity available, minus what the client has bought, so quantity. Alright, so that's all that we need for now. Now before we continue to insert this information into the database, we want to see if we're able to successfully get the information here. And so what I basically do, although it's optional, is to echo this data, so that I see if I'm able to get all the information that I need. So I'll just come and echo all of them here. So those are the records that I want to echo. So I'll just head on to the browser, refresh that, and see if I'm able to get that. Yeah, so as you can see, we're able to get some information here, but still we have 2 errors here that we need to fix. and this is the reason as to why we first of all check to see if we are getting the information before we insert it into the database. So as you can notice, we are unable to get the ID, and we are also unable to get the quantity. So let us see how we can be able to fix that, because this is a very common error when you are passing the information via the form, especially when you want to insert it into the database. So I'm just heading back to the post.php, and as you can notice here, we don't have anything like quantity, and we don't have anything like ID. So because of that, we are unable to get that information. So what I'm just going to do is with the input type that has a value of 1, which is what should grab the quantity the client has inputted, we should come and include a name here. So I also want to get the ID. So again, I'll just come and duplicate one of these. So I'll just come and highlight this one. I'll duplicate it, and I'll have it echo the ID. Remember, we are echoing the ID from that we have fetched from the database, because we are getting this information from the database. If I can just take you on top here, we have selected this information from the database, and so from there we are able to get the ID. And I should also, before I forget, change the name of this to ID as well. So I should come here and change this to ID. So now we have the quantity and we have the ID, which was what we were missing. So like now we can be able to get to the browser, refresh that, and see if we're able to get that. Great. Now as you can see, we're able to get the information here very well. Maybe just because maybe this may not be clear, let me just come and add a break here. Let me just come and add some breaks. Yeah, so the best way of having it is echo the break. So we have echo, and then in quotes the break, and you should also include the semicolon. So now that is what they gave me. So this is now the information that we want to insert into the database. This is the information that we want to insert into the database. So head on back here, and I can just come and comment all these out, because maybe I may need them somewhere. So I'll just come and comment all of them. Alright, so now it is safe for us to continue to insert the data into the database, but I would also want to do a few things before I insert this data into the database. And one is to check if we have the product available in stock. So I'll come and use an if statement, and the condition will be if the quantity is less than or equal to 0. So it should first of all check if the quantity is less than or it is basically equal to 0. So that means we don't have that product in stock. So if that is the case, then what I want to do here is to create a session, because I want to be displaying a message. I'll be displaying a message in the post.php page. So I'll just come and create a session here, and this means that we should have the session started somewhere on top there. So we're going to do that in a second. So but for now, let's just create the session, and we're going to come and give the session a name, and we will call it out of stock. And we're going to set that to be equal to the message that we want to be displayed. So we will be displaying this information in a div. So I'm here creating a div, and now inside the div we are going to have the message that will be displayed once a person tries to purchase something that is out of stock. So we're just going to come and say that the product is out of stock. And I also wanted to have a certain color, because basically it will be an alert. So I'm giving it a class of alert success. Oh, sorry, this one should not be success. In fact, it should be danger. So, and because we have the double quotes here, it means we cannot have them inside here. So in fact, this should be single quote, otherwise it will return an error. And we should also not forget to close that there. Yeah, so on top here we should also come and start the session. So I just come on top here and say session underscore start. Sorry, we have a typo here. This one should be session. Alright, so now that is like that, and if that is the case, then a person should be taken back to the pause page with that message. So for that, we're just going to come and say header, and here we are going to have the location, and the location will be the pause.php. And we should now exit that. So we should not continue beyond that. So like the code should terminate at that point. Alright, so then the other thing that we also want to check is if the product stock, so the other thing that we want to check is if what the client has selected exceeds what is in stock. Like if a client select 10 of a specific product, but we only have 5. So I'm just going to come and say else. In fact, I'll say else so that I can have the condition, and the condition will be if the quantity is less than if the quantity is less than whatever the client has selected. So quantity. So remember, this quantity is capturing the quantity that the customer has selected, and the QTY here represents the quantity of the product that we have in stock, or it represents the stock of a specific product. So the quantity is what the client wishes to buy, so like how many the client wants to buy for a certain product, and this is the stock available. So we're just now trying to check if whatever the client has selected as the quantity is less than what we have in stock, or is greater than what we have in stock. So in fact, this one should be if the quantity we just see quantity is greater than, should be if it is greater than the QTY. So yeah, so this is the stock, and this is the number of products a user wants to purchase. Yeah, so it should be like that. And if that is the case, then we should also return a message telling the user that the product, telling the customer that the quantity requested exceeds the stock available. So I'm just copying that message there, or that session there, and I'll just change the name to stock exceeds, and the message should be the quantity selected, or the quantity requested exceeds the stock available. So the the quantity requested exceeds the stock available. Yes, the person should be taken back to the post.php and the code again should terminate. So now else, if all that is not the case, so like if the quantity selected is in stock and we have that product in stock, now we want to insert the information into the database. So now else, I'm just going to come down here and I can just have a comment to say SQL to insert the data into the database. Sorry, so that should be very simple. So a variable called SQL, a variable called SQL, set that to be equal to in caps insert, and we are inserting into a table called sales underscore order, and we want to set the columns product name. So that should be product underscore name, product underscore name to be equal to the product that the client has selected. So remember, we have this stored in a variable, so we're going to have that in single quotes, and because we want several of them, we're going to separate them with commas. So here we are going to come and have the product underscore name. So we want several of these, so I'm just going to duplicate that. So 2, 3, 4, 5. So this one should be quantity. And the last one should not have a comma, so don't make that mistake, because if it has a comma, that will be an error and the information won't be inserted into the database. Alright, so now we want to come down here and create the MySQL query. So I'm going to come and create a variable, call it results or res, short form of results, and I'm now going to have the MySQLi underscore query, and here we are checking if we have successfully connected to the database, and if the SQL or the insert into database statement, if the insert statement worked correctly rather. So SQL, so, and then after that we are adding that with a semicolon. So now if the connection to the database is successful, and if we was or we successfully inserted the data into the database, I want now to do one more thing, and that is updating the stock now, because we have subtracted a few products. So I'm just going to come and say if, and here we are checking if the res is equal to true. And so if it is equal to true, I'm creating another SQL here. In fact, I'm going to call it SQL1, and in these I'm basically updating the store with a new quantity. So update, and I'm updating the table store, and I'm setting it to, or I'm setting the quantity. So the QTY, this should be in lowercase, the QTY. So this is a column in the store table, and I'm setting it to now the balance that we have. Remember, we subtracted the quantity and the, so like let me just take you there. So our balance is equals to the stock minus the quantity the client has purchased. So now we want now to update the database with a new stock available. So this one will be balance. So, and that's it. Now for the last time we are going to come and create another result. Again, we are going to call this one because we have another one on top there. So I'm creating another MySQL query here just to check if this statement on top here worked perfectly. So again, I'm going to have the con and also the SQL1. I'm testing this one here to see if it was successful, and now after that I should now come and check if this statement again is successful. So I'm going to use an if statement. So if, and the condition will be if res1 is equals to true. So if it is equal to true, then it means the data is inserted into the database successfully, and so we want to return a success message. And for that, I'm going to come and copy this session, and I'll just modify the little, so have it there. And this one should be a success, and now this one again should be success as well, so that it is green in color, and we should have the message as the product is added successfully. And else if it was not inserted successfully, so else we should again have a message. So this one should be failed, and this one should be danger, and you can just have a message like the product was not inserted. Yeah, and that should be 8. So the statement to, or the script to insert the data into the database looks like this, but we have a few conditions before we insert the data into the database. One is to check if the quantity is available, and 2 is to check if the quantity purchased exceeds the quantity. So if all those are not the case, or if the return false, then we should now insert the data into the database. So one more thing that we should also not forget to do is to have the messages now being echoed in our post.php. As you can remember, we have a few sessions that we have created. So so on top of the page here, we should now come and include the session or start a session. So I'm just going to come and say session underscore start, and now after that you can now say, if I come below here, and just to save time, I have already typed the code. So this is the code now that will be like echoing those messages. So I have just opened and closed the PHP tags. I've connected that as sessions, and so here what we are doing is that we have an if statement that is checking if the session out of stock it was initiated. And so if it was initiated, this will be initiated if the product that the client selects is out of stock. So if a client selects a product that is out of stock, we are now going to have this session started immediately, and so this is now what will be echoed on the post.php. Else, if the stock is or if the product is in stock, this session will not be started, and so we are not going to get that message. So the same case with if the stock exists, the quantity available, or if the quantity selected exists the stock. So that again will be initiated, and we are going to have that message there. And also, if we are able now to insert the data successfully, we should also get that message. So this session will be created only when the information is inserted successfully. And if it is not inserted successfully, again the session failed will be initiated, and we are going to get that message here. So basically what these if statements are doing is to check if the specific sessions have been started. So if in any case a session is started, the condition will now detect that that session is started, and so it is going to echo it. It's going to just echo it here. And you also notice that I have the unset. So this unset will just remove the message once you refresh the page. Yeah, so as you can see, I've tried to insert one product, and as you can see now it tells me the product is added successfully. So let me also try to insert maybe onions, and say I want 2 of them. So just come and say alright, before we insert that, let me just refresh this so that we see if we are going to get rid of this message, because we have the statement. And so as you can see, after refreshing the page, I'm able to get rid of that message on top there. So let me just come and add maybe 2 onions. And so as you can see, it tells me the product is added successfully. And so now if we head to the database, the sales under, we're able to see those 2 products. So we have the onions 2, and we have the product being 4. And this one, because the price is 150, we're able to get the amount as 300. And the same case to this one, it is 1 times 1000, which is 1000. So that's it. So one thing to note is that you should try to get use of the session so that you don't lose the invoice number. So in this case, I was trying to keep track of the invoice number so that I can also be able to in future trace the products that are purchased and maybe which are not yet bought. So I tried to use the session here, but it was not so much effective. So try how you can work around the session or with a session or any other way to keep track of the invoice number, that is if you'll be using it. So in my case, I was trying to keep the invoice number or to keep track of the invoice number so that I can always be able to track all the sales. Yeah, but unfortunately it was not working as I would expect. I don't know whether I made a mistake somewhere. So if you also have a way that maybe you're doing it on your end, you can just leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Alright, so having said that, that is the end of this video. So we were just inserting the information into the database. In our next episode, what we'll be doing is now to echo the product here and also create the checkout page, so that the client now can be able to pay for the specific product. So we'll be echoing the products here and also continuing to the checkout. So thanks for watching until the end. See you in the next one.